What's going on, everyone? So the San Antonio Spurs are expected to take Dylan Harper, the number 2 pick in the upcoming draft. Depending on when you're watching this video, could be later today, could have already passed, and they might have already taken Dylan Harper. But point is, Dylan Harper is expected to be their pick. Now, they have listened to conversations about a potential number 2 pick. That's just them doing their due diligence, right? Their job is to listen. What if a team offers some insane haul for a number 2 pick, like Dylan Harper, right? But, there are questions, and we're going to get into that here in a moment because I want to talk about, is Dylan Harper the right choice, the right fit, all of that. I want to be clear, they're going to draft him, and I do think that is the right choice, is to draft him, but you got to at least have conversations as far as the potential either way. Because again, you're dealing with a 19-year-old kid who's coming in that, we've seen a lot of guys that have had high expectations or was believed to be, this guy is a lock and just doesn't. We've seen guys have excellent seasons, right, and just have never been able to replicate it. Michael Carter-Williams is a great example. Averaged nearly a triple-double as a rookie, right? Rookie of the year, looked like he was going to be the next great point guard, was out of the league by his next contract, right? Tyreke Evans averaged 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists as a rookie, and was out of the league, right? Like, again, there's circumstances and situations. Look at Zion. Zion was the most hyped prospect since LeBron, and has been more of a liability than anything, right? Now, a lot of that has just been kind of his personal issues, right? Just him not being able to get out of his own way and injuries and whatnot. But again, you never know what the outcome of these young guys are going to be. Josh Jackson is a guy that, was thought to be, a bona fide lock, and it just didn't become so. Andrew Wiggins, right, was looked at as like, man, this guy could be a superstar. And then sometimes you find that diamond in the rough in a Nikola Jokic who was taken during a Taco Bell commercial, right? Like, you never know how this is going to play out. But Spurs are going to draft Dylan Harper unless they get some blowaway offer, right, that they want some insane return. You've had teams like the Wizards that have been interested. You've had teams like the Houston Rockets. You've had teams like the Philadelphia 76ers that have all tried to pony up and try to make a play for that. And I'm sure there are other teams, but Dylan Harper is the guy. Now, on the surface, he is the ideal kind of guard in the modern NBA. That James Harden, SGA type, right? He's a more athletic James Harden. He's the combo guard that can play either guard spot, be kind of your offensive engine in a lot of ways, be that bucket getter, right? He's looked at as a franchise guard and just absolute transcending talent, right? He's a guy that's looked at as like a surefire can't miss. Him, if you didn't have Cooper Flagg, who, is basically that as well. If you didn't have Cooper Flagg, he would be the clear-cut, far and away number 1 option, right? Like, you see that there's all these tiers. And it's like Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper are in that first tier, and then there's like a gap, and then there's, Ace Bailey and VJ and all these other guys, right? So the Spurs are going to land, more likely than not, one of what many believe as one of the 2 top clear-cut guys. But couple things about the Spurs in particular, very specific, right? Best case scenario, he is your 3rd option because you have De'Aaron Fox and you have Victor Wembanyama. And De'Aaron Fox is going to be your point guard. He can't operate as your 2 guard. He is best as your point guard with the ball in his hands, being active, being effective. So what does that mean for Dylan Harper? You also have Stephon Castle, right? So you're going to have De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle in year 2, and Victor Wembanyama. Chances are Dylan Harper is going to be coming off the bench in year 1 and is not going to get the opportunity to really, at least in year 1, be the guy like he would be on one of these other teams, right? For example, if he went to a Washington Wizards team, he would be the guy. Here's the ball. Here's 35 minutes a night. Go be the best player on this team. And he's going to get the opportunity to play and shine and do all those things. He's probably not getting that on the San Antonio Spurs this year, right? Which Spurs in general are a team that likes to kind of ease guys into it. I mean, even Victor Wembanyama earlier in the season was like, why is Wemby playing 18 minutes this game, right? Like, and then you saw as the season progressed, all of a sudden he's playing 48 minutes in a double overtime game, right? So again, I do imagine that they were going to kind of wean him in regardless, but still there's a big difference between like, hey, now you're not going to get the 30 minutes later in the season like you would? Or do they just kind of go small ball, but they want to try to win sooner or later, right? Like, again, there are those questions, right? Is Dylan Harper going to get the opportunities right out the gate to really show that he can be that guy, right? It's big difference between being the number 1 or number 2 guy compared to the number 3 or number 4 guy. Big difference, right? And again, you're drafting Dylan Harper to potentially be that guy. Now, look, maybe you're looking to trade De'Aaron Fox later on down the line at like the trade deadline or something. If you even start to see little shimmers of Dylan Harper, or maybe they do end up trading a Stephon Castle, because it's like, we got Fox, and then now we got Harper who can be our 2. Now Castle becomes available, and maybe they're making a big play to go maybe solve their wing depth issues, or another big man or something like that, younger, ideally, right? Maybe they're trying to package him to go get something, right? Who knows? I don't know what will happen, but again, you got to keep these things in mind, because things are important. He is not going to be one of the top 2 or 3 options on the Spurs right out the gate. He's not going to be he's going to be the 3rd, 4th guard in the rotation, right? Because, again, he's not playing over De'Aaron Fox. He might not play over Stephon Castle, because Stephon Castle showed all of his abilities, and him just being that Swiss Army knife. Now, again, you can run 3-guard line. Like, you could do something where you're playing Castle at the 3. The reason I think it will work, right, is because I think Castle is willing, okay, and open to kind of just being that dirty work guy. And it's one of the things that I loved about him just even coming out in the draft, right? Like, it's why I thought he was potentially the best prospect in that draft last year, because he's a guy that can do, I compare him to Jimmy Butler a lot. Not saying he's as good as Jimmy Butler or even will ever be as good as Jimmy Butler, but in the sense of like, Jimmy Butler's a guy that can go get you 20 plus a night, but he doesn't have to, right? A lot of stars, they need theirs. A lot of stars, I need my, 15 to 20 attempts. I need to go get my 25 points. I need to do X, Y, and Z, right? But you look at a guy like a Jimmy Butler, he doesn't care, right? You need me to get you 20, I'll go get you 20. You need me to just defend the best player on the other team, do all the dirty work, impact the game in every other way, and go get you 9 points, I'll do it. Right? Hey, tonight, this guy over here is hot. I'm just going to take 3 attempts and let him shine. Right? Like, I could see Stephon Castle being that for them, which then Dylan Harper can kind of be that scoring guard, right? So you could have Fox at the point, Harper at the 2, and then Stephon Castle at the 3, plus him being 6'6". Height-wise, you kind of would prefer him to be the 2, but at 6'6", it's not small, like so small that it's like, oh man, he's not a 6'3", 6'4" guy out there going up against, most 3s are anywhere from 6'6" to 6'8", 6'9" anyway. So, I do think they'd be fine in that regard, but you draft Dylan Harper. Again, I want to be very clear. You draft Dylan Harper and you figure it out. It's a good problem to have. Like, I'm not saying that this is such a terrible, like, oh my God, like, what are the Spurs? No, nothing like that. But it is worth the conversation of like, hey, these are things you have to keep in mind. You don't think the Spurs have thought of this stuff? You don't think the Spurs are, going through and running through all this stuff of like, hey, we might have to trade a Fox this year. We might have to trade a Castle this year if Dylan Harper turns out to be the guy that we think he will be. Or we might end up trading Dylan Harper later on down the line. I mean, there's talks about Giannis still becoming available, right? That he's going to give the Milwaukee Bucks an opportunity and a fair chance to kind of build out a roster, which I just do not see at all. And look, maybe there is a path, maybe there is. I don't see it. I think that they are in about as bad of a position as you can possibly be. I think they are in absolute purgatory, and I think Giannis is going to ask out in a month. But if that happens, then yeah, maybe at that point, maybe they're trading Dylan Harper or whatever else. But if he doesn't, again, you can stay the course. You're not in a position where you have to rush it. And that's the beauty, right? Like, if they would have landed Kevin Durant, it might have complicated things. And if they would have landed Kevin Durant, I think there's even more arguments to not having Dylan Harper, like not drafting Dylan Harper. Because now Dylan Harper would have been the 4th option, right? Because he's not going to be an option over Durant, De'Aaron Fox, and Victor Wembanyama. So now he's the 4th option at best, right? So I do think them not drafting Kevin Durant does go a long way for them as far as like Dylan Harper getting more chances and more opportunities. But again, there's just some things that you gotta at least talk through, just because again, you don't know. A lot of people think that they know and acting like they know, but they don't know, right? Could they be right? Sure. Right? But that doesn't mean you know, right? So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. If you enjoy these types of videos, truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.